The world is full of places that don't feel real. Places so surreal, so breathtaking. They make you question everything you thought you knew about this planet. These aren't your typical tourist hotspots. No Eiffel Towers, no Santorini sunsets. These are the forgotten, the overlooked, the almost impossible. Hidden wonders that exist just out of reach, waiting for those curious enough to find them. From a river that changes color without any warning to a desert that turns into a lagoon, here are 15 hidden places that could change the way you see the world. Let's stats off with Number 15, Huacachina, Peru. A desert village with a lagoon in the middle of nowhere. Huacachina looks like something out of a fantasy novel. Surrounded by towering sand dunes, this tiny oasis town sits in the Peruvian desert, defying logic. No one knows exactly how the lagoon formed. Some say it's a natural wonder, while others believe it was artificially created centuries ago. Either way, it never dries up, even though it's surrounded by endless miles of scorching sand. Locals believe the water has healing powers, attracting travelers looking for both adventure and mystery. During the day, thrill seekers sandboard down the dunes, while at night, the oasis glows under the stars, turning it into a surreal dreamscape. Then there's the legend. A mermaid supposedly lives in the water, pulling in those who get too close. Coincidence? Maybe. But standing at the edge of the lagoon, staring into the deep green waters, it's hard not to feel like something is watching. Number 14, Enchanted River, Philippines. Most rivers are easy to understand. This one isn't. Hidden deep in the Philippines, the Enchanted River looks like something out of a fairy tale. The water is unnaturally blue, shifting from deep navy to electric turquoise throughout the day. No one knows why. Scientists believe underground springs might be pumping minerals into the river, but locals have a different explanation. It's guarded by spirits. The strangest part? At exactly noon, the fish vanish. 1 minute, the river is full of life. The next, it's eerily empty. Fishermen refuse to catch anything here, believing the fish belong to the spirits. And then there's the depth. No one has ever found the river's true bottom. Divers report dark caves leading even deeper, with passages that seem endless. Is there something hidden below? No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain. This river isn't just beautiful. It's alive. Number 13, Isola Bella, Italy. At first glance, Isola Bella looks like something out of a fantasy movie, a floating palace in the middle of a lake, surrounded by tiered gardens and white peacocks. But this wasn't always a paradise. Centuries ago, it was just a rocky island. Then, over generations, it was transformed into a masterpiece with Baroque architecture, hidden tunnels, and golden ballrooms that feel untouched by time. Walking through Isola Bella is like stepping into another world. The gardens are layered like a wedding cake, filled with exotic plants, carved fountains, and views that stretch endlessly over Lake Maggiore. Here's the eerie part. No one actually lives on the island. The last inhabitants left long ago, and now it just sits empty at night, floating in silence. Some say ghosts of the past still roam the empty hallways, whispering secrets of forgotten royalty. Number 12, Giant's Causeway, Northern Ireland. Standing on the rugged coast of Northern Ireland, Giant's Causeway looks too perfect to be natural. It's a massive stretch of interlocking hexagonal stone columns, formed 50 million years ago by a volcanic eruption, or so the scientists say. But locals have a different story. Legend says an Irish giant named Fionn Macumhale built it as a bridge to Scotland, planning to fight his rival across the sea. When he saw how massive the Scottish giant was, he destroyed the bridge and ran for his life, leaving only the scattered columns behind. The stones fit together so seamlessly, it's easy to believe they were carved by human hands, not nature. Some of them stand over 30 feet high, creating a bizarre, alien-looking landscape. Walking across the causeway, it's impossible not to wonder, was this really an accident of nature? Or is there truth to the legend? Number 11. Santa Maria dell'Isola, Italy. Some places feel untouched by time. Santa Maria dell'Isola is one of them. Perched on a towering rock in Calabria, Italy, this ancient monastery overlooks the turquoise waters of the Tyrrhenian Sea, looking like it was dropped straight from heaven. Built by Benedictine monks centuries ago, the monastery has survived earthquakes, invasions, and the slow march of time. Inside, you'll find old stone walls, flickering candles, and frescoes that whisper of forgotten prayers. But the real reason people visit? The view. Climbing to the top, you'll see nothing but endless ocean, waves crashing below, and a horizon that stretches forever. The silence is deafening, just the sound of the wind and the distant crash of the sea. At night, when the last visitors leave, the monastery sits completely alone, perched above the world. If there's a place that makes you feel small in the best way possible, this is it. Number 10. Vagamon, India. Some places don't need fancy resorts or tourist hype. They just exist, waiting for those curious enough to find them. Vagamon is one of those places. Tucked away in the western Ghats of Kerala, this hidden hill station is rolling meadows, mist-covered valleys, and forests so thick they feel untouched. The air is cool and crisp, a relief from India's usual heat, and the pace of life here? Slow, in the best way possible. There are no big attractions, no loud crowds, just tea plantations stretching for miles, quiet pine forests, and waterfalls tucked into the hills. People come here to disappear for a while, to trade city chaos for bird songs and rustling leaves. And the best part? No one is in a rush. Whether you're watching the sunrise from a mountain ridge or sitting in silence by a misty lake, Vagamon teaches you how to slow down and breathe again. Number 9. Marble Caves, Chile. If nature ever decided to show off, this would be the result. The marble caves in Chile look like someone took a paintbrush to stone, swirling blues, whites, and grays into a masterpiece. But these caves weren't crafted by human hands. They were shaped by water over thousands of years. Sitting in General Carrera Lake, the caves shift in color depending on the water level and sunlight, turning from deep turquoise to glowing aquamarine. The reflections make it almost impossible to tell where the rock ends and the water begins. There's only one way to see them: by boat. Paddling through the tunnels, you'll feel like you're floating through a dream, surrounded by smooth, swirling stone. Despite their beauty, very few people ever visit. No roads lead here, and the journey takes effort. But those who make it, they say it's one of the most surreal places on Earth. A reminder that nature is the greatest artist of all. Number 8. Lake Bohinj, Slovenia. Tucked away in Slovenia, overshadowed by its famous neighbor Lake Bled, Bohinj remains a hidden paradise. No fairy tale castles, no tourist crowds, just pure, untouched nature. Surrounded by rugged mountains and dense forests, the lake's waters are so clear they reflect the sky like glass. The silence here is almost unreal, broken only by the wind rustling through the trees or the occasional ripple in the water. Locals say Bohinj changes you. It forces you to slow down, breathe, and appreciate the world without distraction. There are no big resorts, no loud motorboats, just canoes gliding across the surface, hikers disappearing into forest trails, and sunsets that make time feel irrelevant. Come in winter, and the lake freezes into a mirror, the snow-covered mountains making it look like a scene from another world. If you ever needed proof that beauty doesn't need an audience, this is it. Number 7. Great Blue Hole, Belize. A perfectly circular abyss, stretching 400 feet deep, sitting in the middle of the ocean, the Great Blue Hole in Belize looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. But it's real, and it's one of the deepest underwater sinkholes on Earth. Divers who descend into its depths report something eerie. The water turns pitch black, the temperature drops, and the silence becomes absolute. At 130 feet, you reach stalactites, proof that this hole was once a cave above ground before the ocean swallowed it. What's at the very bottom? No one knows for sure. In 2018, a submarine expedition went deeper than anyone before, only to find something unsettling: the bodies of long-lost divers, perfectly preserved in the oxygen-starved water. Despite its mystery, the blue hole remains one of the most beautiful places in the world, a perfect balance of fear, wonder, and the unknown. Number 6. Montserrat Monastery, Spain. High in the Catalonian mountains, Montserrat Monastery looks like it was placed there by the gods themselves. Surrounded by jagged peaks and swirling mist, it feels otherworldly, a place where reality and legend blur together. Built in the 11th century, this monastery is home to the famous Black Madonna, a sacred statue that pilgrims from around the world come to see. But what makes Montserrat truly mesmerizing isn't just its history, it's the climb. A stairway, known as the Steps to Heaven, winds up the mountain, disappearing into the sky. No one really knows where the legend started, but people believe if you climb the steps, you get closer to the divine. Whether you believe in miracles or not, standing on the monastery's terrace, looking down at the clouds below, is enough to make anyone feel small. And sometimes, that's exactly what we need. Number 5. Hitachi Seaside Park, Japan. Some places make you wonder if you've stepped into a different world. Hitachi Seaside Park is one of them. Located in Japan, this park doesn't just bloom, it transforms. Depending on the season, it shifts colors entirely, from bright blue baby's breath flowers in spring to crimson red kokia bushes in autumn. Walking through it feels like stepping into a painting, with rolling hills covered in millions of tiny flowers, stretching as far as the eye can see. There's no bad time to visit. Every season brings something completely different. But the best moment? When the wind sweeps across the fields, making the flowers move like ocean waves, and you realize you're standing in a place that feels almost unreal. Despite being one of the most breathtaking sights in Japan, many travelers don't even know it exists. And maybe that's what makes it even more magical. Number 4. Antelope Canyon, USA. If the wind and water could sculpt art, this would be their masterpiece. Antelope Canyon in Arizona is a place where sunlight dances through narrow rock walls, creating colors so vivid they seem impossible. Carved over millions of years, this canyon is smooth, flowing sandstone, twisted into mesmerizing patterns. The famous light beams appear at just the right moments, piercing through the cracks above and illuminating the canyon like a cathedral. But here's what makes it haunting. The Navajo people believe the canyon is sacred, a place where spirits move through the shadows. Tourists see beauty, but the locals see something deeper, a connection to forces beyond our understanding. And then, there's the silence. Standing between the curved canyon walls, with only the whisper of the wind, you start to feel it too, a sense that this place is alive. Number 3. Pangong Lake, India. Some lakes shimmer. Pangong Lake in India glows. Sitting at 14,000 feet above sea level, surrounded by rugged mountains, this lake changes colors depending on the light. One moment it's deep blue, the next emerald green, then suddenly golden at sunset. No one quite understands why, but it only adds to its mystery. What makes it even more surreal? It's half in India, half in China, meaning it stretches beyond borders, belonging to no one and everyone at the same time. Travelers describe it as one of the most peaceful places on Earth, but the silence hides a secret. Tensions run high here, with border disputes between the two countries. It's a place of contrast, beauty and conflict, stillness and unease. One thing's for sure, Whether you see it at sunrise, noon, or sunset, Pangong Lake will never look the same twice. Number 2. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. There are places on Earth that don't feel real, and Salar de Uyuni is one of them. This massive salt flat in Bolivia stretches over 4,000 square miles, creating an endless expanse of white that feels like another planet. But here's where things get truly surreal. When it rains, the entire surface transforms into a perfect mirror. The sky and the ground become one, making it impossible to tell where the Earth ends and the heavens begin. Walking across it feels like floating in the clouds, as the reflection creates a never-ending illusion of space. During the dry season, the landscape turns into a cracked, blindingly white desert, where salt piles rise like small pyramids. Hidden beneath the surface, a massive reserve of lithium, the very element that powers our modern devices. Salar de Uyuni is more than a site. It's a portal into another reality, a place that erases the boundaries between earth and sky. Number 1. Lençóis Maranhenses, Brazil. Deserts are supposed to be dry, lifeless places, but Lençóis Maranhenses breaks all the rules. Instead of endless dunes, this Brazilian desert fills up with crystal-clear lagoons after the rainy season, creating a landscape that shouldn't exist. From above, it looks like waves of sand dotted with pools of brilliant blue and green water, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The rainwater gets trapped between the dunes, creating temporary oases that last for months before disappearing again. Swimming in these lagoons feels like stepping into a dream. Warm, fresh water surrounded by nothing but white sand in every direction. Some of the pools even have tiny fish, carried there by the wind or birds, proving that life always finds a way. The best time to visit? Right after the rains, when the desert is at its most magical and the lagoons seem to stretch on forever, a mirage made real. Hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon in the next one.